Today in the crypto space, we see the market getting a nice green bounce to the upside. Bitcoin up to about 50K. Ethereum up approximately 4.5% above that $2,500 mark. And the rest of the crypto space, the altcoins looking pretty good. We have some really good gainers, OP, Near Protocol, STX, and many more. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, one project that is looking super bullish. And of course, that project is called Microvisionchain. Space is the ticker. So you know what? Let's talk about the news. Let's analyze the charts and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. And of course, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's take a look at the top 100 first. Then we'll take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indicator for this market to see what is happening here, because Bitcoin right now is pushing to higher levels. And then, of course, today's video is on Microvisionchain space. Guys, it's a very bullish project. It's been doing very well. And of course, it's part of the Bitcoin narrative. Let's see what's going on here with the top 100. Before we start, look at this. The market cap, the overall market cap here of the crypto space is at $2 trillion all of a sudden, guys. That's looking pretty good. It's up 2.5%. And of course, Bitcoin leading the way. And all of a sudden, we see Ethereum also doing its thing. Right now, Ethereum is actually slightly outperforming Bitcoin in the last little while. So doing pretty good. Up 4.5% for Ethereum, up 3% give or take on Bitcoin. That's pretty good. And then we see a lot of these altcoins following Ethereum's lead, of course. Now, could this be the beginning of an altcoin season? Do we see this happening? Guys, tonight, live at 7:30 tonight, we'll take a look at this whole narrative, the altcoin season narrative. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the Bitcoin dominance and compare all the charts to come up with a strategy here. Because if we see a potential opportunity in the altcoin market, guys, we definitely need to take it. We need to take those opportunities and run with them. As of now, we're seeing altcoins get a nice pop to the upside, and we're seeing Ethereum lead the way as well. Cardano's up 3%. We have Chainlink up another 2%, and just a lot of green in between, of course. If we continue going down, Matic, I'm getting the sense that the Ethereum narrative is on its way again. ICP's up 1.5%, nothing much, but Uniswap. Usually we see Uniswap run up with Ethereum. Now, the fact is that Uniswap was already in the negatives. So technically what it did is that it's bullish based on Ethereum, but it's just recovered. It's right now at pretty much break even, let's say. It could potentially break out of those previous highs. You can see these tops right here that are currently acting as resistance. If it keeps on breaking, keeps on showing strength here, Uniswap could be looking for that higher high here. And we see that, generally speaking, Uniswap is up 13.5% in the last 7 days. So definitely bullish, definitely bullish. Immutable X doing pretty good. IMX up 12%, pretty good. 36% in the last 7 days. Guys, we're seeing some altcoins definitely do well. OP, part of the Ethereum narrative, definitely doing good. 7.5% right there. And if we keep on going, you see there are a lot of good gainers, but still some of them going sideways. Like, you know, for example, Caspa, for example. It's not completely sideways, but generally speaking, Caspa, because it has been a great performer in the last little while, I feel like the market's going to be very hesitant, getting really bullish. And I feel like the market's going to be looking for opportunities in altcoins that haven't really run up yet. You know, Celestia is another one. It ran up significantly in the last little while. How much more is it going to run, given the fact that it's quite risky at its current level? Now, if you compare it to Near Protocol, then Near, in fact, if you look at it from big picture, hasn't really even moved yet. There's a lot more risk in altcoins that have moved already in comparison to Near. Near hasn't really moved. The risk to reward ratio is healthy. It's at the bottom of the range, and the overall protocol is still very bullish, lots of great fundamentals. So technically speaking, we can see that the project like BitTensor, Kaspa, even Celestia, and the list goes on, it could be ones that are just taking a bit of a break and letting the other altcoins run up and catch up. Guys, that's pretty much what we're seeing here. We've seen Stacks also up 9% based on the Bitcoin move, Bitcoin narrative, Lido DAO, Filecoin looking good, and we got a lot of others, Arbitrum, part of the ETH narrative moving. So we can basically conclude as we speak that the ETH narrative is very strong. You know, it's potentially giving us that indication that the altcoin season is around the corner. Ordinals doing good, 14.5%, guys, based on Bitcoin, of course. Bitcoin pushing up gives us that indication that we'll see the Bitcoin narrative, but then money flows into the Ethereum narrative. And this is probably what we're seeing. Bitcoin and Ethereum battling it out right now to see where this money is going to flow. Algorand waking up as well, up 13.5%, give or take, in the last 7 days, so that's good. And Beam, guys, what's going on with this Beam? Up 62% in 7 days. Beast of a project, definitely doing well. And of course, a lot of other altcoins are doing well. Helium, HNT doing okay, doing its thing, up 15%, basically coming out of nowhere, making a nice comeback, and the list goes on, guys. The market in general is green, very green. We can see a lot of this price action very similar, making slightly higher highs and higher lows and grinding to the upside, getting their opportunity. I'm not seeing major fluctuations in price action here as we come down to lower levels here in the market cap, but this is good. This is good, guys. I'm still looking for entries on some altcoins. Some of them are grinding slowly, not giving me an opportunity, which is fine. Like Ronin doing its thing, going sideways, we could potentially have found a little bit of a bottom, but generally speaking, I would like to see Ronin come down a little bit lower so I can buy in at, you know, better risk to reward ratio opportunities. And for me, this is critical at this current level, is that we get in with low risk. Okay, guys, let's move on. Let's see what's going on here. The general market, as we see it, is looking decent in the short term, but what's happening with Bitcoin? I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin by looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is breaking out, guys. It made a slightly higher high, which is beautiful, very nice. And if you start looking at Fibonacci, if you start looking at the Fibonacci theory as extension, swing high to swing low, we're on our way to potentially hit that 1.27 extension. It's possible. Now, if we don't, that's fair game. That's fine. A slightly higher high, we come back down. Totally fine. I'm accepting that. We overshot this diagonal, if that's the case. You know why I'm being a little bit like, you know, easygoing here? Because at the end of the day, Bitcoin at the end of the day did very well. It did very well from its bottom. I'm not willing to take risk right here on Bitcoin to go for a fresh long. Ultimately, this thing is looking really frothy up here, and it could continue going. It could get up to about 52, 53. That's fine. Up until now, every altcoin that I've been scaling into that has great fundamentals, and of course doing deep dives and all of that research, leads me into getting into great altcoins with good hype, good fundamentals, great community. They have all been outperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as we speak, is up 3%. A lot of the altcoins that we've been talking about here on the channel have surpassed that 3% significantly. So the thing is that although Bitcoin is showing dominance over the market, it's showing dominance over the market as a whole, right? And this is something that we need to understand. We can discuss this further tonight in the live stream. And ultimately, we're seeing a lot of these altcoins just smash bullish price targets at the current moment. And it's basically seeing a lot of strength in this market right now. So for me, I'm focusing on altcoins regardless of what's happening here with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is really frothy up here, and it could definitely go up a little bit more, but a retracement is definitely healthy, coming down to about 32 more or less. And at worst case bearish scenario, we come down to about 25, and I'll be buying the dip hard at that level. Momentum wise, you can see that bearish divergence is still intact. Yeah, we can try to invalidate the bearish divergence, and it's possible that we do, no doubt. But as long as this is downward sloping, this RSI is downward sloping, and you can see we can even modify it just a little bit. No big deal as long as we're downward sloping. At the end of the day, guys, bearish divergence, class A bearish divergence on these tops. And again, another indication that we could be hitting resistance soon, hitting, you know, retracement levels and extension levels, but depending on which way you go. 1.27 from the from this zone, and a nice retracement from the upside using Fibonacci to the golden pocket, pretty much where we're at. So really at this level, I see a lot of froth. I see a lot of risk here in Bitcoin. Let's move on, guys. Let's take a look at space. This video is about space. space, of course, but we look at Bitcoin because if ultimately Bitcoin does come down, I'm expecting for it to create a lot of fear in this market and take a short-term dip, market-wide dip. It's very, very possible that Bitcoin does retrace eventually and that we see the market get fearful and they're going to start looking at altcoins to protect themselves. Because, of course, we know that altcoins take a bigger beating when Bitcoin comes down. For example, when Bitcoin comes down 30%, the average is that we see altcoins come down maybe about 80%. And that would be a deep retracement. Now, if we use that theory to see Bitcoin come down 30% for a healthy breather, and we look at the current price of space, Microvisionchain at the current moment, you know, we get down 80% from this current location. We could come down for a big dip, right? And that's a pretty big one. We could come down really deep. So what we really have to understand is that getting in on any long at the current moment is dependent on Bitcoin at least going sideways. At minimum, we want Bitcoin to go sideways. And it's a good idea to see Bitcoin going sideways because that means that Bitcoin is boring. And then the market generally starts looking for this volatility into altcoins. And this is potentially why we're seeing altcoins in the last, I would say, hour definitely run up really hard. We can see a huge pump here on Microvisionchain doing really good. The entry was decent. We're here looking at the daily. Let's kind of make these indicators a bit smaller so we can see more real estate on the price action. And in fact, I wouldn't mind making it bigger, just expanding it as we focus on price action. Guys, entries like this are long gone. In my opinion, they're very unlikely to get these levels. This is where we were scaling into Microvisionchain nice and early looking for entries. We got the huge rally up. This was the take profit zone. And then we started coming down. And all of a sudden, we got a level of support. We got many touches, 1, 2, 3, 4 touches on horizontal support. We started building a bit of confidence here based on all those touches. And we saw a nice volume gap form, a nice empty spot. We have the top of the volume gap. We have the bottom of the volume gap. If we would have fell through the volume gap to the bottom, I would have been prepared to DCA. But luckily enough, we didn't. We held support. We had, some previous highs right here to act as support. As you can see, every time the price got close enough to that zone, quick buy-ups, quick recoveries, bounces, back tests of previous resistance, now acting as support, and all of a sudden breaking out like this. Now, what do? Do we start looking for fresh longs, guys? It's quite dangerous to be looking for fresh longs in the current state of Microvisionchain, given the fact that it's pretty much looking for a higher high. It's looking for a breakout out of the previous high. Now, at its current state, obviously, it could get into a range. It's very, very possible. And the only reason why I think that it's possible is because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin taking a break, Bitcoin coming down essentially means that altcoins could also come down. So if Bitcoin does come down, you got to get defensive on this because this move is pretty decent. We're looking at range lows from here to where we are right now. We're looking at about 60% profit in the current state. And if we test the previous highs once again and we slowly grind to that level, you're looking at an 83% pump in a couple of days, which is decent. Now, all of a sudden, what do? You have to start looking for, other horizontal levels. I like this level right here at about $25, okay? And the reason being is if you kind of move this out of the way, you can see that the majority of the weak spot above, comes into play right around $25, $26. So let's put that back and you can see what I mean. Ultimately, we're in a weak zone. We could fly right through this area. Why? Because if you look at the volume profile, you see that there's not a lot of market participation here to act as resistance. All we really have is this peak. Now, this peak, we can actually look at it and cross-reference it and look at it right here. This whole area got a lot of volume, but majority of it happened right into here. Okay, you can see that based on the volume profile. Now, I'm wondering how much volume is into here. Now, if you look at it, there's not much. This peak right here has very low volume, which means that it's likely that we come to this level, maybe even break out. However, guys, that's a breakout trade. And right now, getting into a breakout trade is quite dangerous because this wick could develop into some sort of blow off top in the short term, which means that we can come down to about $26. And at worst case, we come and revisit range lows again at about $20. And if that would be the case, at that point, there's going to be quite a bit of bearishness in the sense that it could even come down and come all the way down to about $15. And if it comes there, guys, that's where you're going to have to DCA again. But in its current level, guys, how could we get bearish when this thing is pushing to higher levels. So that's the case. Let's look at the momentum. Momentum is back overbought. Guys, we went sideways here in the chop zone for so long. The volume profile and the price action confirmed this level as a potential accumulation phase. Lots of market participation, lots of volume, and all of a sudden sideways accumulation and a nice pop to the upside. The question is, did we pick up enough bullish bids at this level to have enough strength to break out of previous highs? I think that it could be very possible here. Definitely could be very possible to see this thing break out. Look at the MACD, the way it's positioned really nicely. EMA is facing up, green histogram bars to the upside, okay? And then all of a sudden, obviously, we have the RSI in overbought conditions, and that's where we usually get the most impulsive price action to the upside, is when we get overbought. But again, from a risk to reward ratio opportunity, guys, you're a breakout trader, so be very careful here getting into a fresh long. If you happen to take my signal and are on the Discord and saw this chart and you got in at this level, guys, this is the time to potentially put a stop loss, a trailing stop loss, a triggered stop loss right about, I would say, $24 more or less. Okay, put it right there. Maybe even take a 10% off the top as it goes to higher levels. If we get into a consolidation again, some sort of pattern, whether it be a flag, a pennant, whatever the case may be, and we see a bit of volume grow into this level, what we really have to do is consider trailing up that stop loss and perhaps taking a little bit of profit there, because it could be that we come right back down to 26, but it could also be that we're going to be creating a bull flag right here and maybe a cup and handle type of scenario. It's not really nice and rounded, but it still qualifies. I'm still good on that. Nice rounded bottom, nice cup and handle right here with the consolidation, not too deep of a retracement. We don't want to retrace more than 50% way of this pop to the upside, and then all of a sudden we start looking for a continuation. So building a bit of a structure here can give you a base, a level of which to protect. Right now, it could be a quick retracement. It could come down real quick. It could actually keep on pumping to the upside. This is why exiting your positions at the current moment is not the wisest thing to do unless we build that structure. Okay, guys, so this is very important. Guys, join the live streams tonight or at any night, and you can make those requests. You can make a request on Microvisionchain or any other project that you're bullish on, but we should keep up with this because ultimately this thing is showing a lot of strength. It's up at one point, was up over 20%. Right now it's up 15% for the day, which is probably one of the top gainers in the last little while. So pretty good. Let's take a look at the 4 hour and let's see if we find any significance here. You can see that we're making higher highs on the RSI, so no bearish divergence just yet here. MACD is looking great. EMAs are still facing to the upside. No signs of bearish divergence just yet. So not even a sign of weakness on trend strength, which is the MACD, and momentum strength, which is the RSI. Overbought on the 4 hour, overbought on the daily. No bearish divergence on the daily or the 4 hour. Should we be holding? Now, could this little dip here, as you can see, a bit of a blow off top, a little bit of a dip right now, could be one of these dips in the middle, right? Could be one of these. This is a 4 hour candle. This 4 hour candle closes in about 3 hours and 30 minutes. It's got time. We got time enough to see this thing close even bullish for that matter. So what we really got to do is be patient. Don't exit positions completely. This thing's on its way. It could continue to the upside, but make sure you lock in a decent amount of capital by putting a triggered stop loss. Again, right about $24, even about 25 is not bad based on the volume gap, based on previous price action. Look at all these tops and all of this. You kind of want to stay within this range so that you can allow these tops to act as support if we do get the back test, and that way you don't get your positions, basically exit your positions, because we could get support and continue to the upside. We can consolidate right into this zone and then make that next leg to the upside. And you don't want to exit your position on that state, right? That this is a good level to potentially see a continuation to the upside. So back to the daily, guys. Overall, we see Bitcoin where it's at. We see Bitcoin potentially, a bit frothy here, pushing to higher levels. If it continues to go sideways, I'm expecting Ethereum to take the driver's seat. If Ethereum takes the driver's seat and starts driving this market to higher levels, altcoins will definitely flourish. And this is one of the projects that I think should do well. Why? Because it belongs to the Bitcoin narrative in a sense, right? And it also belongs to an altcoin narrative because it's a smart contract that is built on Bitcoin pretty much. And in this case, it kind of dabbles into many narratives. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, you know what you got to do. You got to slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to join me live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action, guys, feel free to join. I'm going to be live, of course, and join the Discord, guys. Join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.